and something along the lines of giving PETA the middle finger.
Oh my goodness, for sure.
Something like that. Just something that's just, again, this whole world that we live in is all about engagement.
Yes.
And virality of engagement.
For sure. You need a hook.
A hook.
And that's a perfect hook.
And your perfect hook comes from, and it's not a lie.
No.
You, on your first post that you put out, maybe it was the first or second, PETA, and I don't know, I
want to literally see if I can find it really quickly so that way I could read exactly what they wrote and then what I
can't remember
responded.
what they wrote, but the fact that PETA, the account, the blue check marked account. Now, number one, I don't know how PETA got a blue check mark because you can't as an organization get a blue check mark. But PETA commented on your post. If PETA comments on our post, I don't think I'd even respond. I'd just take that as a victory that we're on their radar.
For sure.
So you're on their radar and they say, we're so disappointed in you, or something like to that effect. And then you said, actually, I have to thank you.
Yes.
PETA, you brought to light the whole factory industrial complex tied to animal husbandry, and that turned me into a hunter.
Totally. I literally want to find it so much because I referenced it again by saying that they turned me into a hunter just on a hook and barrel and Christensen kind of collab that we did for actually this month's magazine.
Right.
So, but it was really stemmed from my first hunting season with Josh and Jess from Montana Knife. And it was one of those things where I was like,
Had PETA interacted with you at all before
they have.
then?
They always would like send me like certain little things, but I had never.
So you were like, they knew about you.
Yes.
Okay.
But not in a capacity of.
As like, a WWE superstar.
Yeah, and just kind of more so trying to get me on to their, you know how they
ambassadorship,
do,
their influencer program, the whatever you want to call it in that world.
It's one of those things where I remember one particular moment I had romanced the idea because at the time they had, I think, like 7 people and they were doing a huge campaign. And I was like, should I do this? And Jonathan was like, first of all, you're Mexican Italian and all you do is like eat meat. So that's a hard no. And second is
PETA would have looked past that.
Yeah. He's like, you'd be a lie. And then that's when I really started to like dig into exactly what PETA is instead of just seeing like who was going to be in this campaign type thing, you know? And then fast forward to me then now stepping into the hunting realm, and then they came for me hard. That's why I'm like, dang, I wish before we sat down I found the
well, we'll get a screenshot of it. We'll find it. We'll
post
it.
It was, I have to give a massive shout out to the hunting community because when they came for me from posting, I think it was initially an Instagram post that
Correct.
I did. And I was like, I remember reading it out loud to Jonathan, and I was so bothered by it because it couldn't be further from the truth. And so I try not to, I use the word like clap back at something that is, I just ignore anything negative or that has no kind of substance to it, and don't play that game. But for whatever reason, you know, they lit a fire under my ass, and I felt that it's to get your message across, remove emotion. Even though your first reaction is emotional.
It's okay to have a little bit of emotion because then it's translatable. Mm-hmm. People get emotion, but to be completely emotional
is people are gonna miss your message because you're just so taken with emotion. So I had my emotional moment with my husband that he bless his heart. So shout out to Jonathan. But then after that, I went over with what I wanted to respond and made sure that I got the green light from my MBA husband that thinks very logically and does not have my brain whatsoever. Thank the Lord. And then I responded. And then how the hunting community rallied was insane. I've never seen a community so amazing for somebody that is so brand new into their space, their world. They reposted it like wildfire.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, it's because you
It
were
was a
so
cool
different.
moment.
Because you were so different. You were a non-hunter, becoming a hunter, but you were grabbing this new space, right? We were grabbing this new space. As I said to you, your community is a non-hunting community.
Right.
So, well, Natalie Eva Marie, welcome to the Blood Origins
I know.
podcast.
We just started running with it.
That's what happens. That's what happens in the Blood Origins podcast.
I love it.
We've been trying to do this for 18 months.
I know. You're crazy busy. I'm on the road like you.
Well,
so
then you
I'm
started
so
the
excited.
Hopeaholics.
Yes.
And so you've been here in California.
And you were just a guest on ours. So
It's amazing.
Amazing. And I absolutely am stoked to not only meet you in person, but, I always kind of give both lights to social media. And this is a definite pro to social media because that's without social media, we probably would have never met because
100%.
different states doing different things. And then that's the beauty of being able to have a platform that you reach people that you wouldn't think that you would connect with. And then I love what you're doing. I love even being able to sit down with you today, having you on the Hopeaholics podcast and hearing your story, how you got into doing what you're doing today is really inspiring. And it's really cool to see somebody so on a different trajectory in their life in the sense of going to college, getting your PhD, being well versed in that field, and then completely transitioning into doing this, which I think is awesome. And the way you're able to put that out there and shed a light on something that people don't really know about because you only think about hunting with gun, killing, and trophy. That's it.
Well, I appreciate you, and I'm honored because you're a monster, celebrity. And,
oh my goodness!
And you are let's be honest. It's like you've got WWE, memorabilia here that people buy in shops, right? And we are a nothing little non-profit.
No.
Chasing a dream, and you're like, okay,
I
want to be a part of it.
I'm doing the same thing. I'm chasing a dream as well, and I definitely thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. I don't feel like I am whatsoever, and it's probably because my oldest brother likes to, sporadically give me a phone call, and I'm thinking like, oh, my brother wants to just check in, and I answer.
Being a classic older brother.
Oh my gosh, I say hello, and he goes, just called to let you know you ain't shit, and then clicks up and then hangs up the phone. I'm like, oh, okay. Glad things are going well with you. Love you. But
so let me ask this. I'm just, and I don't think you've ever answered this question.
Ooh.
And you haven't answered it in the film that I've watched.
Ooh.
Why? Why did you decide, like, oh yes, I want to become a hunter? Like, what was that? Do you remember? Can you reflect back to like that moment you're sitting probably with Jonathan in Texas, and for some crazy reason you go, "Hey, babe, I think I want to kill something."
You know what? I think it's not just a simple answer. I think there's multiple reasons as into why I began and why I started, and then why I wanted to use that and utilize my platform to share my journey and experience. Is one, hunting was something that I grew up with it. Like I mentioned earlier to you, my godfather, huge avid hunter,
Okay. He never took you hunting.
Never took me hunting. However, he was the first person he was an amazing chef as well. So, he would be able to, I would always hear about the experiences by going over to his house or having him and Cheetah, my godmother, over to our house. And
Your godmother's name is Cheetah?
Well, yes, it is. Her name is Stephanie, but we call her Cheetah.
Oh, amazing.
But yeah, I know. Isn't that actually kind of wild considering he was a hunter too? And so that's kind of funny. But so I always kind of grew up having a vast respect for the hunting world and that space because I saw the love and the joy and what it did for my godfather, because not only would he go out on his hunts, but then to see how he would then just put together a fantastic meal from what he just was able to come back with was an experience that I'll never forget. I mean, he was the first one that I would ever had abalone.
Oh yeah, cool.
So he did all sorts of, like, he wasn't just you know,
he was a hunter above the sea and below the sea.
All of it,
yeah.
You name it. And then towards the end of his life, he turned into a straight up cowboy. Like, it was really wild. So I admired that he beat to his own drum and would do whatever he loved and wanted to do, but he would go balls to the wall. And my dad always told me, if you're going to do something, you get what you put into it. So, and then fast forward to how and why I wanted to step into this space is because I think it's really important, especially because of how our food is now compared to like growing up. Just from, there is so many chemicals, there's so many things that are put into our food that we have
and you're
no
a
idea.
super healthy individual for those that don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
super active.
Yes.
Working out all the time.
For sure. And as I got older, especially, you know, stepping into WWE and that realm, it's really important. Like, I'm a big advocate on mind, body, and soul. So what you're feeding your body is huge, you know, because it does play a huge part into the neurons and everything in your brain. Like, sugar is a drug. So it's like, so I started to kind of pay attention to that. Plus, my husband is extremely diligent and very smart in the sense of research and diving into certain things. And so he's really health conscious as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that really started the conversation in particular, just because you see we got to go other countries, and certain foods that are sold in Australia are, you can't sell them in Australia. It's literally like illegal, and they're sold in America.
Oh, from America, you can't sell them in Australia. That's
right.
what you're saying, yeah.
So it's the same exact brand is selling us something that they cannot
in Australia.
So that also sparked an interest, like, how is that even possible? And why is our FDA even allowing the same exact, say, cereal brand with all of these preservatives and extra additives, but yet the same exact brand is selling the same exact cereal without all of those ingredients in another country? That just didn't make sense to me. And so, you know, and then with the beauty of social media, following like guys, Cam Haynes, you know, he really intrigued me because I'm like, dude, this guy is a 9-to-5, married, kids, but wants to provide by going out there during hunting season and getting the most organic and best meat possible for his family. So then my wheels started to really turn, and that's when the conversation really started to happen. And then, of course, you know, highlighting, might as well shout out PETA, because they did all the dirty work in the sense of showing what factory farming.
But do you think that I know we were making a joke about it earlier, but do you really think that was part of the decision that says, like, okay, let me explore hunting? And obviously, based on Butch, there is, you weren't in the camp of a negative perception around hunting.
Never.
You were generally favorable to positive around hunting.
And I always had a high level of not only respect for what they do, but the capacity of, like, even gearing up for hunting season and how serious he took it. Him and, I mean, I call him my cousin, but I don't know what you would reference, like his son Damien. He would take him and they would go on these like crazy hunting like trips where they're out there and then they, you know, come back and have all these amazing stories. So it always fascinated me on, like, what would that be like? And then also the aspect of, that's what we used to do when, you know, we didn't have all the luxury that we have now. You just went and you had to hunt for your food. If you didn't hunt for your food, you don't eat. And so it's like, I wanted to experience hunting on all those levels and see what it was like, but ultimately to be able to nourish and provide for my family the highest quality.
Sure.
And know exactly where my meat comes from. Because I just went out there and did it and killed it.
And give your Malinois some beautiful deer bones and stuff like that.
They like, it's insane. They go nuts.
I'm sure.
When I even open the freezer, they know
there's some bones in there.
Yeah, mom's coming with some big treats. But that's another element where, like, we use and that elk is not wasted. Like, I take it very, where I think that's where I find the narrative around hunting is so misconstrued on multiple elements because of, like in every organization, every sport, everything that you kind of walk into, humans are humans, and you're going to have bad apples anywhere you go. So unfortunately,
and ours are just particularly bad, unfortunately.
Totally, but it's very easy because all you can do is highlight kill, animal, gun, bad person. When it's you're missing the forest for the trees. It's like, no, that's very, very a small fraction of really what hunting is, or at least in my eyes. And then now that I've had 2 seasons under my belt, it's completely different than even what I thought it would be. Going out there and experiencing the effort and the camaraderie and all of the emotions that go with even just getting, that animal. There's so much more to it, and it's so much deeper than I thought that I would ever experience, which I had no expectations, because usually my expectations sometimes are way too high and then I get disappointed. So I wanted to go in extremely not expecting anything, and then also like an open book, because I'm brand new. This isn't my world, and I'm just starting out, so I want to learn, and that's why I'm very grateful, and will forever mention Josh, Montana Knife, and Jess, because not only did Jess and I get to experience both our first hunts together, but the fact that Josh was willing to reach out to me and say, hey, if you're down.
So how did that start? So again, let me I want to rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
What is the conversation with Jonathan? Because Jonathan, you said animals raised. Mm-hmm. Jonathan's a hunter, right?
Now he is, because this was his first season.
But he wasn't a hunter too? He wasn't a hunter?
I mean, he came with me on my first hunt, but I was the first one in the family.
So but before that, like, again, what is that conversation? You sitting around the breakfast table saying, babe, I want to do this. Or does it start with a Josh Smith reaching out through DMs saying, but how does he know to reach out through DMs? Had you been intonating that?
Well, we'd already started that's the beauty of social media, is because it all is, and it's coming full circle, even meeting you, by how we're all connected in some realm. Like the 6 degrees of separation is for sure real, because I was following certain people that Montana Knife was already following, that I ended up following Montana Knife because, so it started where we were all following each other. And then like Jack Carr, I've started following him before his first book dropped, and then I was hooked, and then we became just social media acquaintances. And then he ended up sending me the dopest PR little packages for his books.
Oh, for sure. The books. The Jack Carr, I'm waiting.
The gun case is sick.
I wish and I hope, Jack, if you're listening to this, his book would have come out by now. But so the next book coming is Red Sky, right? Or Red Sky Morning or something like that. Yeah. Now, I was on the list when I lived on the coast of Mississippi. Okay. And then we moved. Okay. And I saw everyone getting their packages being delivered. And I was like, oh, my gosh, he doesn't have my new address.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I texted him. I said, hey, I don't know if I'm still on the list.
Yeah.
And if I am, here's my new address. And he goes, you're still on the list. I'll send you one. So hopefully next round, I hope I'm still on the list.
I'm hoping I'm still on the list as well, because I've been a huge fan of his ever since. My husband is a super avid reader, and I've always put that on my list of like, I want to read more. And then the problem with that is like, you have to have an actionable step and actually pick up a book.
Correct.
So I finally started in 2019, like right before. It was actually a great time because it was right before COVID and the lockdowns and everything. So I was like blazing through books, and then I stumbled upon, I love anything that has series, and then lo and behold, thank goodness that Jack.
Have you read any of the Lee Child books, the Jack Reacher books?
Yes, Jack Reacher. Okay. Yes, for sure. Anything of that realm, I'm all in. And plus, I think it's because, one, I'm the youngest of all boys, and two, my dad, Marine, Vietnam War. So anything military-wise, I'm very much drawn to. That's why I was very fortunate, and what drew me to WWE as well, and why I wanted to take a stab in that with no wrestling background whatsoever, was because they do so much community work, and one of them is our military. So I was fortunate enough to go over to Afghanistan twice to visit our troops. And then also what led me here in California, again, with the Hopeaholics podcast and partnering with the Infinity Group and opening up my first NEM recovery treatment centers, is because when I first came out here, they gave me a tour, and they have 3 dedicated facilities just for our veterans. So to me, that hit everything on a personal level that aligns with everything that I want to do, because when my dad came back from Vietnam, he went with 6 guys, and 1 didn't make it back with him, like, of his tight crew.
Sure.
And, it's one of those things where I don't forget that those guys that are boots on the ground fighting for our freedom to give us the opportunity that we're here today, sitting, having
100%.
a chat, having on a podcast, doesn't fall lightly with me. So I think, anything that I can do to do what I can possibly do, even on a small fraction, whether it's just a workout on Sundays in remembrance of somebody who gave the ultimate sacrifice, is really important to me. And so hence how I started following Jack, and then I was following Cam for forever,
Sure.
like big time. And I mean, I did my first ultra run because I was like, who the fuck? This dude in Oregon is busting out ultras, and he's
marathons a day.
Yeah. And also working literally a 9-to-5 job and all of these things. I was like, fuck, I can run then too. If he can do it, I can do it. So I've always been kind of like that, in the sense of I never wanted to be put in a box, even when I first entered WWE. And so if I'm...
Well, you're definitely not in a box in the hunting community, that's for sure.
I know. It's actually quite funny, because when I do go on my... I've only been on, 2 seasons of under my belt. However, even though at heart I am a massive tomboy, but that doesn't mean, even on my... People would comment, like, are you wearing makeup, when I would go out in the field? And I'm like, yeah, I am. So I wake up 20 minutes earlier than the other guys and handle business, and I'm never late. So I don't know what you want from me.
Well, and the whole idea of like wearing makeup, people will get onto women who decide to wear makeup, but that's your choice. It's like a choice of camo. Like, why do you choose this over this? If I choose to wear makeup, so what?
I completely agree. And not only, it also is the reason why America's so beautiful. You can do whatever you want because of that. And I love what Deion Sanders, he has a great quote. It says, when you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you play good. And when you play good, they pay good.
I've got a Deion Sanders. No. Yeah, Deion Sanders, I think, is, because he was the football coach at Colorado, right?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he has a saying there. It's like, I'm not hard to find.
Exactly.
And I'm not hard to find either. Like, if you've got beef with me, you got beef with Blood Origins, I'm not hard to find.
Totally. And
like,
I love his
DM me, and I'll DM you back.
For sure. And I have his other one that I love that I've taken, especially with, like, our mission at Hopeaholics, is we're coming.
Oh, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot.
It's amazing. So I think my answer to the initial question is, like, so broad, and there's so many elements to it because of, like, my childhood. So obviously I do feel a sense of closeness.
Sure.
When I am out there, I feel like Butch is right there with me, and I think that's super special. Like, I feel a connection with him and my dad. And then on top of that, it's Jonathan is...
Did your dad hunt?
So what's crazy is my dad wasn't...
Because you would think Butch would be a good mate of your dad's,
No, for
right?
sure. I mean, it's funny because my parents just celebrated their 51st anniversary, so I was going through photos so I could put up a little tribute post, because they're my heroes. They're my, like, literally everything. They're the best. And my dad would go, but he never, like, would bring back an animal or anything like that. And he never really went because he was always working to provide for us. So he didn't have the time to, like, take off. Butch ran his own company and was a baller and could do that. My dad was definitely working a ton.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you talk about being a baller and being a different Obviously, you don't look like a hunter.
I'm a different breed,
You're
baby.
a different breed.
I'm a different breed.
Well, you seem to have attracted another baller that has also red hair. You and Willie.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God.
The only two women in the hunting space that have pink hair have now found each other.
So, funny story. First season going, getting my boots wet to Josh and Montana Night.
Yep, and we've talked about you used a Bergara.
I did.
Which is a big part and supporter of ours.
Yes, I used the Bergara 300 Win Mag.
Yep.
And my shot was, I think, 420.
Perfect shot.
Distance. It was incredible. And then, so that really introduced us to the hunting community, right?
Correct.
And so Jonathan and I, because...
And you live in Dallas.
And now we live in Dallas, yep. We're 45 minutes north of Dallas in a town called Salina.
Okay.
And God bless Texas. So because we have been fortunate enough through, Jonathan being a smart businessman and being
savvy
able to...
individual,
yes, and being able to utilize my time in WWE and Total Divas and things of that nature to expand the Natalie Eva brand.
Yeah, the business side, yeah.
Way I wasn't always reliant on WWE and then, oh my gosh, what am I going to do once I leave? We were in a cool position because Josh did tell us, people are probably going to want to reach out for sponsorships X, Y, and Z. And Jonathan was very keen on being very honest with a lot of brands that reached out. And we wanted to make sure that at this stage in the game, it wasn't about money. Trust me, if you asked me this 11 years ago, I'll sing and dance. I was
Put
poor.
The check on the table.
Totally. You want me to sell lemonade? I'll sell you lemonade. It doesn't matter. I need $1 because I'm sharing a bed right now.
Correct.
So now where we are, it's especially in this space because I feel like it's very special and it's one of those things where I also want to be in it for the longevity, and so I don't want it to also look like I'm just getting paid and that's it, and then I'm jumping all around and not knowing what I'm doing and appreciating really the craft of what's going on here. And so we went to our first SHOT Show, and that's when we were just introducing ourselves, talking to different brands and this, that, and the other. And one of our meetings was with Christensen Arms and Willie.
The pink-haired lady.
Oh, the moment that I walked up to Christensen's booth, first of all, it's
amazing booth.
It's an amazing booth. Yep. It's different than any other ones because it has a modern vibe to it. It's very
got the
clean.
The little rock architecture.
It's beautiful. Yeah. And so that struck me as, okay, I like this. And then here comes Willie. And the moment that I saw her, and she was also, you have to think, it's a convention. Everyone's walking around. It's crazy. She's in Christian Louboutins. And I was like, where do I sign? I'm like, this is my chick. And then she obviously had.
And you connected with her.
I completely, because, I think that it's really important, especially in this day and age. She is one of the first that I have seen, very innovative and willing to take chances and risks. And Josh is also the other one in the hunting community because I am not your typical generational hunter. I'm brand new to the space. I come from WWE, wrestling, a reality show, movies, TVs. It's not your typical person that you would think that would even be interested. However, both of them saw something in me after, chatting with myself and Jonathan, where it's if I'm wanting to do this, I'm really truly wanting to do it for all of the right reasons, whatever those are to them. It aligned with, and that's why I'm here today. But I was fortunate enough to hit it off with Willie, her husband. Oh my God, her little girl is amazing, and I ended up partnering with Christensen, which, their rifles. When you're hiking, that's what's crazy too. I'm so new that it's fun because I'm learning. Mm-hmm. So now Jonathan you ask him, you can sit for hours and talk guns and ammo. I literally am going to bed and all I hear in my because he's watching YouTube videos and stuff. All I hear is shots and pings and he's learning the ins and the outs.
Cool.
He's redoing certain guns that we get, and I'm like, who are you? All of a sudden you're a gunsmith. But he's gotten really into it as well, and so I think that's nice for us to enjoy together too, because we can I mean, he can teach me about whichever firearm that he's working on, that he's interested in at that moment. And that's exciting because I think as humans, you never want to stay complacent. You know, it's really important to always try to learn something new or have another attainable goal, or else that's when, or at least for me, that's when the crazy thoughts start, or I'm not fulfilled, or I'm not happy. That's where I'm not happy, even though I always say like happiness is fleeting. It's just it's an emotion. It's not really real, you know, in that sense. But it's because I need to constantly be pursuing something that I enjoy, and that is hunting.
So talking about that, you've had 2 seasons. Both of those seasons you've hunted elk.
Yes.
So what's next?
Majestic creatures.
Yeah. Are you just gonna is elk on the cards every year now?
For sure.
As best as you can.
As best as possible. Like October already for us is like
elk month.
Yeah, and I also think it's really good too because I do love working, and especially because I love what I do, that it doesn't feel, it sounds cliche because as a kid I would be like, oh God, shut up. Like, find your passion, find your why, never work a day in your life. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's so false. And then here I am finally hitting my stride and doing it and loving it and being able to just like move a mile a minute where friends and family are like, are you okay? But I'm the best I've ever been. Like, and that's the dream. Like, that's what I was always chasing, and I finally found it. But with us, it's nice because I know October is, I get to kind of go into the dark zone where literally you can't reach me because there's no service when you're out in those hills.
Sure.
And that was a cool experience, my first hunting season, because I didn't ever have that disconnect. And it's essential. Like, it does something to your brain, to your body, to be out in nature and hear all the sounds
and be a part of it, right?
Oh my god,
that's the thing. You're not just observing nature. You're participating in her.
And you're hearing things like for the first time. I'm looking,
smelling things for the first time.
And you have to think. I come from Texas, and my first hunt was in New Mexico, and the grass is quite high. So the entire time, our guide, Gary, who Josh had been, hunting with for quite some time, thank God Gary gave him the green light to bring me along, because Josh had to hit him up first and say, hey, so I'm thinking about bringing this girl. I want to make sure it's okay with you. And then we have a laugh now, but Gary says that Josh sent my Instagram, and all of a sudden it pops up this like pink hair, crazy chick, and he's like, oh shit, I don't know about this one. But he said yes for whatever reason, and I'm so glad he did, because Gary, Daryl, LG, they're the best. So it's always, I feel like I'm grandfathered in. I kind of strong arm them for that one, just because it's hard to find people that are so willing to teach. It's very easy to show somebody or kind of tell somebody what to do, but to really feel the love and the passion, and they want to help you get better, and they want to teach you whatever it is that they know from all their years doing this. And that's what I really appreciated from going out with the first team that I did, because I got to experience something I always feel like your first time doing anything, hopefully it's a really good experience, because if it's not, then it can like turn you away from something that you think you might love. And it did the polar opposite for me, because I had a great like foundation, and then now I really love it because of, yes, the meat is great, but it's so much more than that. And that's what I think is hunting is so special, is because every time I've gone out so far, it's been an emotional ride, man. I've grown so much in just my character, because I was having to walk through things that I never thought that I was even going to experience by going out on a damn elk hunt. You
want to hear you talked about, we've talked about in this podcast and before when we were off the air, about all these like different connections that are weird between us. So Gary donated cow elk ivories You know what the ivories are, right?
You know Gary?
So Gary donated cow elk ivories to a jeweler, a silversmith in Colorado called Charity Wanachek. She runs Ghost Town Jewelry.
Oh my God.
And Charity made jewelry for our silent auction for the conservation event that, remember, I sent you an invitation to last year. Those were elk ivories from Gary in our silent auction for our event.
I literally have the chills right now because I know exactly who you're talking about, because her and I will DM back and forth.
Yeah.
This is so mind-blowing. And then she started picking up a bow and...
Correct.
Oh my goodness. Wow. How wild. But Gary's the man.
Oh, he's the man.
He is like such a sweetheart. And I think how we were kind of talking about everything is so full circle in such a small world, because then my hunt this season, I went out with Christensen.
Yep.
And then Jacob and the boys.
And that's my team
that's
for Lionheart.
Yeah, which is
Correct.
insane. I just found that out today. I love those guys. They were absolutely incredible. And they're badasses because their gear is heavy. And we were putting it down.
100%.
Like, putting it...
Yeah, people don't give cameramen enough kudos in terms of the gear that they carry up a mountain.
Right? And trying to get the shot.
Correct.
And then, it's one thing where I'm carrying my rifle in my pack and stuff like that, but that's nothing compared to having to stabilize and, try to get the shot and film the experience as real as possible without... It was wild. So, I have so much respect for those guys because... I made him work this season. That is for sure. But yeah, Gary is awesome. So I feel like it's just one of those things where no matter what, at least one hunt in October for elk with him.
Is there anything else that you've been that's come across your plate that you're like, oh, I wish I could? I think that's super intriguing to hunt.
I mean, I definitely want to dabble in other spaces. I mean,
we were talking with Shane earlier. Does the
know.
idea of a black bear intrigue you at all?
It does. So especially because in January I went out and was on Cam Haynes's podcast, and so that's how I got my first bow.
Did he feed you any black bear whilst you were there?
Some bear?
Yeah. Did you eat bear with Cam?
No, I didn't eat bear. No.
Oh, okay.
Just talked about bear. We had elk.
Okay.
His wife made some bomb elk chili.
I'm sure.
That was absolutely incredible. But then I got to go to the bow rack, and then Wayne, him and his wife run that out there in Oregon.
Yep,
and
Eugene, Oregon. Yep.
Oh my God, they're incredible. That place is awesome. And Wayne is definitely and that's the thing is it's really cool when you get to learn from people that are so obsessed and love what they do. And you can totally tell that by Wayne. And I mean, I took him by surprise too, because
he didn't expect you to shoot a bow the way that you shot a bow.
Well, and I guess I'm not your average bear. People have to...
Well, you aren't, because you're dolled up makeup. You've got pink hair.
And then I talk like a boy.
You're wearing high heels.
Yeah.
Yep. Yet, as you said, you're the tomboy of tomboys.
Yeah. But then I open my mouth and it's like, huh? So that's usually what happens. And I love my husband because... I remember being really insecure at the very beginning of my WWE and Total Divas career, because I know that a little bit about myself, that I am even though I've learned, because senior year of high school I was still very much tomboy. I was wearing wife beaters and sports bras to school. That's where I was at, and so the glow up is real, my friends. So now. But I still am that person.
Sure,
Jonathan, when I was trying to kind of dull it down a little bit, I have to compliment my husband for giving me the confidence to. He was like, no, but that's what makes you special. That's the little glimmer that people want to see, and it would be unauthentic and not you for you trying to hide that element of yourself. And so. I just let it fly. And then when I incorporate people like Wayne and then Gary too, at first I can tell too, they're like, wait, what did you just say? Fuck?
Yeah.
They're taken back a little bit.
Yeah, 100%.
And you can see it on Cam's podcast, the Lift Run Shoot. It's hilarious because Wayne is looking at me kind of like, this girl is definitely not what I expected, but it's okay. I have a very kind individual.
That's
so
right.
you can feel that too. But that's when I learned to shoot a bow, and then that sparked my interest of like, I wonder if I can hunt with a bow. Which at this stage in the game, no, I need to definitely put way more reps in, because how close you have to be to an animal to make a kill with a bow is insane. I mean, my first hunt, I was 420 yards from my elk kill, and then my second one, I was like 320. So that's...
Oh, it looked a lot closer than that.
I know, it did. It seemed... Well, no, 320 with Gary, and then with Christensen,
it was like 120.
It was like 120.
Yeah.
So, and that 120, hell of close for me. Like your adrenaline, heart, everything. It's such an experience that I think I really enjoy hunting, because my mind is always racing of things to do or get done, or what's next and what's on the list. When I'm hunting, I can't think about anything else, because not only do I want to make an ethical kill, but like you have to be paying attention to where you're at, what you're doing. That's why, what I was going to say about New Mexico, what I thought was funny is Gary he sees a pack, and so we now are on the hunt to go, because we were glassing at first, and then it was time to hit it to go see if we can get closer. And he takes off like a wild man, where I'm like, holy shit, Gary is moving ass, like moving, right? And so I keep looking at the ground, because the grass is quite high, and I'm used to snakes.
In Texas.
And then that's when Josh and Gary were like, there ain't no snakes out here.
Just come on.
I'm like, I don't know, guys. But that's also another element. Like, your fitness level plays a role.
Huge.
Because 1, can you keep up? 2, the elevation. 3, the heat, and then the cold, and then being able to pack correctly, because I sweat really easily. So then, okay, so you're moving and shaking and you're sweating and it's sunny, that's great. But then what happens when you actually stop, and then the sun is going down, now you're freezing.
So many elements.
So it's like you have to incorporate so many elements into you having a successful hunt. And that's what I'm grateful for, going out with Josh and Gary, and for them to be able to kind of like show me those initial ropes, or else I feel like you need to prepare for success, and if you don't know certain things, you just don't know.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of things that I thought that I knew that I really didn't think of.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoy the fact that my brain is quiet, and I'm just learning and paying attention and being out in nature. So I think that for me is like kind of therapeutic as well. It's like a beautiful thing.
Well, we're super grateful to have you in the hunting community.
No, and I appreciate you, because you are for sure one of the first that responded, was super welcoming, opening, and...
well, we need more of you, as I said. We need more of your kind of people in our community, and the fact that you're different is good for us.
For sure. Because then you're not like in an echo chamber,
No,
like,
of course not.
It's easy to talk about something that you're into with other people that are into the same thing. It's like, that's the beautiful thing about also why I wanted to use my platform in a way where it's not just me and an animal, a dead animal. It's like, there's so much more to hunting and the space than what a typical person might think it is. It's like the nature aspect, the mind aspect, the body, the nutrition, the camaraderie, the teamwork, the effort, the struggle, the emotion. Like, you're not thinking about that when you think of hunting. That's not the first things that come to your mind. You're thinking of gun, animal, death, bad person. It's like, no. It's actually, that's such a small fraction of even what hunting really is, or at least to me. And like the people that I've met in the community, same thing. So you have some bad apples that are highlighting it and not the best, but then there's people like yourself, and hopefully myself, where it's like you're opening up just a little touch, just a little something to maybe have you think a little bit differently, or just appreciate the fact that this exists and why it exists and the reasoning behind it. That's all.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you for being on this podcast.
Thank you.
I wish we could go for another hour, but I have to get to the airport.
I know. You're the man. I really appreciate you coming in, doing a turnaround trip. I absolutely love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Hopefully, I'm excited. I want to come out to Denver and be there.
100%. And
The
then we got an introduction coming.
Yes, 100%. Yes. Stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you big time, and I'm really excited that I got to meet you in person.
Oh, man. Appreciate it.
And thank you for welcoming me into this amazing community.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
All right, girl. That was brilliant.